There is a moment that often surprises Americans in Canada, not because of what happens, but because of what does not. Streets remain calm even during busy hours. Conversations stay measured. Public spaces carry a softness that feels deliberate rather than accidental. The absence of constant noise, urgency, and emotional display creates a subtle dissonance. For many Americans, the quiet is not immediately peaceful. It feels unfamiliar, almost unfinished, as though something important is missing from the atmosphere itself. Early impressions tend to focus on how restrained everyday life appears. Stores operate efficiently but without spectacle. Service interactions are polite, brief, and emotionally neutral. Voices are rarely raised, even in disagreement. The environment gives little feedback, offering few emotional signals to read. This creates an odd sensation of social distance, even when people are being kind. The calm does not feel cold, but it does feel contained, as if the volume of life has been intentionally turned down. Beneath this surface lies a deeper cultural difference rooted in how space, emotion, and community are managed. Canadian social norms often prioritize emotional moderation, conflict avoidance, and respect for personal boundaries. Expression is carefully calibrated. Strong reactions are reserved for private settings, while public life favors balance and predictability. In contrast, American culture tends to reward visibility, enthusiasm, and emotional clarity. Energy is often interpreted as sincerity. Quiet, by comparison, can feel ambiguous. This difference becomes noticeable in small, repeated moments. Casual conversations stay practical rather than expressive. Compliments are understated. Humor leans towards subtlety instead of performance. Even shared spaces like public transport or cafes feel intentionally neutral, designed to minimize intrusion rather than encourage interaction. The result is a social environment that functions smoothly but offers few emotional cues. Over time, many Americans begin to realize that the quiet is not emptiness, but a form of social agreement. It reflects a collective preference for low friction, where personal autonomy is protected through restraint. Yet this understanding does not immediately remove the discomfort. For those accustomed to louder affirmation and visible engagement, the calm can feel isolating. The culture does not demand adaptation, but it does quietly insist on it, shaping daily experiences in ways that are easy to miss and difficult to name. As daily routines settle in, the quiet begins to show patterns. Social interactions rarely escalate, even when opinions differ. Disagreement is softened through careful language, pauses, and indirect phrasing. Emotional intensity is often redirected into humor or polite distance rather than confrontation. For many Americans, this creates uncertainty. Without clear emotional signals, it becomes harder to tell where conversations truly stand. The absence of friction feels less like harmony and more like emotional opacity. Work environments reflect this same restraint. Meetings tend to be structured, efficient, and low drama. Confidence is expressed through competence rather than assertiveness. Speaking loudly or forcefully can be interpreted as unnecessary rather than persuasive. Ambition exists, but it is often communicated quietly, without self-promotion. Americans accustomed to energetic collaboration and open debate may initially read this as disengagement, when in reality it reflects a different understanding of professionalism. The quiet also extends into public life. Cities feel orderly but subdued. Public celebrations are controlled, rarely spilling into spontaneous chaos. Even moments of national pride or collective emotion remain measured. This creates a landscape where predictability replaces intensity. For some Americans, this stability feels reassuring. For others, it produces a sense of emotional flatness, as though the environment resists passion. Everyday encounters reinforce this impression. Apologies are frequent, but rarely dramatic. Gratitude is expressed softly. Small talk avoids personal extremes, favoring safe, neutral topics. The culture encourages emotional self-regulation, valuing calm consistency over expressive release. Over time, this can feel like an invisible rulebook, one that is never explained, yet quietly enforced. As weeks turn into months, many Americans begin to notice subtle internal shifts. The absence of noise creates space, but also demands adjustment. Emotional responses naturally soften. Expectations of interaction recalibrate. The environment does not push for attention or reaction, allowing life to unfold without constant stimulation. For some, This feels like relief. For others, it introduces a low-level tension, a sense of being emotionally understimulated. This cultural quietness does not announce itself as a defining trait. It reveals itself slowly, through repetition. It shapes behavior without instruction, encouraging adaptation rather than resistance. And while it rarely causes open conflict, it leaves a lingering impression, one that continues to influence how Americans interpret connection, presence, and belonging within Canadian society. Eventually, the quiet begins to influence perception more than behavior. Many Americans find that the environment subtly reshapes how attention is distributed. Without constant auditory or emotional stimulation, everyday moments stretch longer. Silence becomes noticeable. Pauses in conversation feel heavier. The culture seems to allow emotions to exist without immediately naming them, which can feel unsettling for those accustomed to clarity through expression. This shift often reveals how deeply noise and openness are woven into American social life. In the United States, emotional visibility frequently acts as a form of reassurance. Enthusiasm confirms interest. Strong opinions signal engagement. In Canada, reassurance is conveyed differently through reliability, consistency, and an absence of disruption. Care is expressed not through intensity, but through restraint. The message is quieter, but persistent. Over time, some Americans begin to recognize that the calm offers a different kind of social safety. The reduced emotional pressure lowers the risk of public embarrassment or confrontation. Personal boundaries are rarely crossed. The environment protects privacy by default. Yet this same protection can feel like distance. Connection exists, but it unfolds slowly, often beneath the surface, requiring patience rather than momentum. This cultural atmosphere shapes how belonging is experienced. Integration does not come through standing out, but through blending in. The reward is stability, not recognition. For Americans used to being seen through energy and expression, this can feel like a loss of identity. The quiet does not reject individuality, but it does not amplify it either. It asks for adjustment without explanation. In the end, the Canadian quiet is neither flaw nor feature in isolation. It reflects a collective agreement about how shared spaces should feel predictable, respectful, and emotionally manageable. For some Americans, this creates peace. For others, it creates absence. The culture shock lies not in misunderstanding, but in contrast. It reveals how differently societies decide what comfort sounds like, and how silence itself can carry meaning.